welcome back, and thank you so very much for watching Sunday Brunch from Houston. And of course, I just introduced to you all these wonderful guests, and not only that, we also have a topic. And today's topic, recently I read somewhere that people have done best in life when they have a common denominator, and that is by being born in a well-off family or going to great schools or starting off with a smart IQ. But that's not the case with all the children. Of course, that does help, but sometimes it's also parents putting in time to do that, to kind of, make it a way, kind of make them for education. So my question to you today is that why do you think it's important to make the environment of your home conducive to learning when your children are with you? And of course, we just talked about why it's important at an early stage. So you covered my first question. And then, of course, another thing, what have you seen in your experience if kids start later at school, or how does that affect them? What would you have to say?
I think it's important to understand how a child's brain develops.
Right.
When you're trying to teach a child to do something that the brain has not yet begun to develop for,
Right.
then it frustrates the mom and it frustrates the child. The child's brain develops from the bottom to the top and the back to the front. So the very first thing any child ever does is raise their head. And then they roll over, and eventually they sit up and walk and talk. And by 3 years and 8 months is when the brain is starting to develop the prefrontal cortex, which is where active learning takes place, decision-making skills, the ability to self-regulate, and so forth. And so what's important at the house is to understand what age your child is and what stage they are developmentally. If you're trying to get a 3-year-old, as an example, to not throw a fit, you're going to waste your time, and the 3-year-old is going to throw a fit because that portion of the brain simply has not begun to develop yet. So it's important for mom's sanity as well as the child to know where your child should be.
Right.
And that's a very important thing. And when you marry up the two, when you marry up what the child needs to be learning and when the child needs to be learning it, and you put that together in your home, the child's educational component can explode.
Of course, and that's something important for parents to know. And Ms. I'm sure you would agree that in our community we have lots of parties, and I think what happens is when kids are going through school, and they have and I don't know how I should say this, if they don't have a bedtime and they're busy because mom and dad are at this party and the kids are there, do you think that's also something which needs to be nurtured or focused on, that your environment has to be for studying? I mean, you became an attorney, so obviously there had to be that environment. What do you have to say?
Oh, environment, yes, it is very important for the kids.
Right.
See, what we focus on, basically as Desi moms, we focus on education is the first priority.
Right.
It's not that I am an attorney or she's in this system, so that's why. For all the parents, it's very important that the education comes first. Rest of the parties also step in.
Right.
We cannot avoid them. We have to teach our kids also to learn to move in our culture. We have our cultural restrictions and requirements and everything. So we want our kids not to be alienate in that environment. They need to meet everyone and all that. I think so. The basic thing for me, I have 3 boys at home, which starts from 15 years old and adds to 3 years old. So all age groups are there.
Right.
And I go through these tantrums and everything. But the thing is that the most important thing is to timetable everything for me.
Right.
Like my kids, when they come home, they know what they are supposed to do.
Right.
They have to eat, then they have to take some rest, then they have to start their homework. After the homework, and once the homework is done, then yes, they can go out, play. As it becomes darker, they can play inside. They can have screen time. In our house,
right.
it's we use the term screen time. Or you can have half an hour screen time, and then you have to go to sleep at that time. During the weekends, yes, the schedule is a bit different. But the thing is that this is what I follow from my the eldest one. He's in 10th grade now.
Right.
So that's the one I follow from him, and that goes to the 3 years old.
And it's kind of a little ritual you have. This is the timing, and I think organization is important too. What do you have to say about that, Nina?
I mean, I think kids actually crave structure. I mean, you have to leave room for flexibility and spontaneity, but I think they do crave structure. I mean, you wonder, how is it that when they go to school, they're able to, pack their backpack and put their
I know,
lockers
they can
in,
do everything at
and
school,
then
and
they
at home
come
it's
home,
like
it's like they forgot to take out their lunchbox. It's like how is that even so I think it's just as important at home to provide that structure, and things will fall into place, and it makes your life as a mom and as a parent much easier.
Of course.
And then reward systems,
of course, and that's important, like what you just said. Sometimes I wonder, like my son, at times I'm like, I've seen you at school, it's so structured,
right.
You know how to do this, and what happens, like the minute you walk in the door, it's like, I'm not doing anything.
Right.
But it's important, and I think even with you saying about the brain development, I think telling children these things, making them understand, making them comprehend it, it's important. And I know at Kids Are Kids, another thing I wanted to talk about was a lot of parents who send their children to school, they kind of worry about how the kids are doing. And I know you guys have the cameras over there where they can kind of see what their child is doing. Those, especially those Desi moms who are worried, what's happening in school. Are they crying? Are they laughing? So I know you all have that system at your school.
Yeah, we have. We teach through technology. We teach through a number of different methodologies, but technology is one of them. We also have multiple cameras in every one of the classrooms. So, any mobile device you can log onto, or a PC, and you can watch specifically what's going on inside the classroom, as little or as much as you want. We also have a smart board. A smart board is just a very large interactive board, and we take the children out a few at a time. We have a full-time technology teacher at our school, and so she will bring a handful of children at a time, and we work on whatever specific item that particular group needs. We also have a separate library and computer lab. We work with a program called ABC Mouse. A lot of people have heard of it.
Yes, I've heard of that.
We've taken our Kids Are Kids curriculum and we've married it together with ABC Mouse. So whatever our particular theme is and whatever we're particularly working on, there will be items inside the ABC Mouse program that work in conjunction with it. And the tuition pays for the subscription at home.
Right.
So when the child goes home, if they want to continue to play with it, they log on.
And you talked about home, and like same thing what you're saying. Even as a mom, I have a point when my kids get home when they're doing homework. It's no TV. Even with my phone, I put it away because many times I've seen people have the TV on, and that doesn't mean you guys don't watch TV One. Keep watching TV One. But that's why you have a system. But that's why we do the show on Sundays. But the thing is this, what's important is, when the kids learn at school, the teachers are doing a wonderful job. And I think all the teachers, it doesn't matter what community they're from, I think they're doing a wonderful job. But it's important for the parents to reinforce that at home. Because if they're coming home with the homework and you have the TV on and then you have you're on the phone, it becomes harder. How do you think it's important that it's homework time, and how parents should reinforce that at home?
Well, and I also think parents need to be involved. I mean, I think if you were to just say, okay, it's homework time, and then you walk away and talk to your friends.
You can't do that. Yes.
Your child's going to see that you're not paying attention to them, and then half the homework's going to be done, or none of it's going to be done. And so if you show that you're involved, and if you're there to follow up on any teachings that need to be done, then I think that helps a lot too. I mean, it's difficult to do because we're all trying to balance our jobs and our work life and our home life. But I think parent involvement is really important. I know with the schools that my kids now go to in public schools, we're getting an email from the teacher every day. There's constant communication. And so I'm able to talk to my kids and say, hey, did you do this? And my kid will say, oh my God, how do you know about this?
Exactly.
So it's them knowing that I know.
I know, and that's what's the scarier part.
Yes.
And even with the schools and stuff, and when the kids, like you said, they do their homework and you walk away, and then they mess up in school. Then it's like, why did you mess up? Well, you know what? Maybe you should have taken some time out. Yes. And then later on, I know we're talking about the younger kids, even for the older kids, parents are like, you didn't do this. But, you have to start it, do you think, at an early age when it comes to this, towards education? Or do you think later on when they're in high school, you start realizing, it's important to study? Or do you think it should be at an earlier stage?
No, it should always start from the day one. That's what I feel. Because if you realize that after when the kids go to high school, that's not the right time to realize, and that realization is not going to help. So I think kids should also know that mom, dad, they are involved. Grandparents, they are involved. They are keeping an eye on us, and then they are there to help them. I have seen, and it's very sad, that I have seen many parents, 2, 3, I'm not going to mention their names, but I've seen them, they are on the phone the same way, talking to their friends, discussing dresses, and the party's coming, and the kids are doing their homework, and a kid coming and standing by the mom for like 5 minutes with a notebook in the hand, asking for some kind of help, and the mom is not available, and then mom ends up saying, "What? Don't you know I'm in the middle of a conversation?" Yes.
But so
this is not the right thing.
It's not the right. And when I do homework with the children, when I watch them, I literally don't even answer my phone. And I know there are people who are probably watching. They go, "Oh, that's why she doesn't answer." There's a certain time because you have to focus on that. Whatever the child learned, and if they're having trouble, you can address that with the teacher, because teachers do their part. I mean, I've seen the teachers at your schools how they are really. I mean, and the way the concept, through playing, kids are learning. They just, you're making them like kind of like you fool them, and they just learn something. So that's kind of important. And even, right now, not right now, there was something else that I wanted to share. President Obama, with his mom being a single mom, he was forced to kind of, study and, learn and stuff, and that made him get into Harvard. So do you think it's the mother's role more important, or do you think it's the father's role that's more important?
They are equally important.
Equally important. So you could say that. This is something that the South Asian... No, I think it's, so go ahead. So it's equally important for both of them.
It's absolutely equally important. Children learn different things from both parents.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Males bring something to the table different than females.
Right.
And what's important to understand is the education of a child and brain development of a child is like a four-legged stool. Mm-hmm. If you work on just the cognitive, and if that's the only thing that you're really stressing is the educational, well, there's three other legs that are just as important. There's social, there's emotional, and then there's a physical aspect. You really need to be spending time doing all four of those aspects, because if you take that chair and cut one leg off, it's not going to be very stable. And so cultural things are a part of it, and you are absolutely going to get different things from different parents. The physical is going to tend to be the dad more. They're going to be out there playing ball and throwing the frisbee and those kind of things. The social, emotional are going to come more from mom. Not that one is mutually exclusive from the other, but by and large, that's what it takes both to do a good job of raising children.
What do you think, Dina?
I completely agree. I mean, there's times when and it also depends on the subject matter. I mean, I'm better at English, and my husband's better at math.
That's what I do too.
So we kind of flip flop. And
of course.
But yeah, it definitely takes both parents, and it should be responsibility of the dad too.
Okay, and Miss, what do you have to say?
What I think is that kids are very strong emotionally. The term what I'm using is that sometimes we think if we say something to the kids and they forget, like they will forget in like half an hour. They take these things very seriously. And sometimes, like after a week or 2 weeks, my son will mention to me, one of them is more sensitive, and the middle one, he will come and, "Mom, remember you told me that day?" So, and at that time, I think that it's so important that we are more careful about what we are saying to them. It is so important. And what dad is saying, what mom is saying, both of them are, the impact is so strong.
It is, definitely. And of course, we have to take a break, I've been told. So we're going to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. Keep watching Sunday Brunch from Houston on TV1. We'll be right back.